You don't sign the document all at once. You sign it the way you do everything else. One careful line at a time, making sure each letter looks exactly the way it should. The pen is government issued, black ink, the kind that dries fast and leaves no smear. You have signed thousands of documents with pens exactly like this one. Arrest warrants, search authorizations, confidential informant agreements. You know the weight of a signature in this building. You know what it means when your name appears at the bottom of a page. It means the government moves. Today, your name is at the bottom of a different kind of page, and something real is about to happen to you. The conference room is on the 4th floor of the J. Edgar Hoover building. It has no windows. The air conditioning runs too cold. And the way it always does in rooms designed for uncomfortable conversations. 4 people sit across from you. You know 3 of them. 2 internal affairs, 1 Department of Justice. The 4th you don't recognize. The 4th has a folder. It's thick. You spent 11 years building cases. You know what a thick folder means. It means patience. It means time. It means they didn't move until they had everything. It means there is no version of this conversation where you walk out the same way you walked in. Your hands rest on the table. Still, you keep them that way deliberately. You've interviewed enough people to know hands betray what faces conceal. Movement means panic. Stillness means control. You choose control. You choose the version of yourself that has sat across from dangerous people and never let the room see inside your head. You are very good at that. That is, in a precise and almost ironic way, the reason you are here. The man from the DOJ opens his folder but doesn't look up immediately. He lets the silence stretch. You recognize the technique. You've used it yourself. Silence is pressure. It makes people fill space with things they shouldn't say. You don't fill it. You wait. Somewhere outside this room, the bureau continues. Phones ring. Elevators open and close. Someone is probably making coffee. The ordinary world keeps moving while yours collapses in a room with no windows and air that smells faintly recycled. He says your full name. First, middle, last. The way prosecutors say it. The way they say it when they already own the outcome. You answer, yes. He thanks you for coming in voluntarily. The kind of sentence that sounds polite but isn't. You nod once. You came voluntarily because the alternative was an arrest at your home. Early morning, neighbors watching, your life ending in public. You chose this version. You chose to delay the collapse by a few hours. This is where it begins. Not with money. Not with the first call. Here. A table. A folder. A man saying your name like a door closing. But that's not the truth. The truth is, it didn't begin here. That's the version people will want later. Clean. Simple. A single moment where everything changed. Before and after. They need it to be simple. Because the real version isn't. The real version is incremental. It's survivable. It's one reasonable decision followed by another reasonable decision until the sum of them is something you can no longer recognize as reasonable at all. You joined the Bureau 22 years ago. You were 26, law degree, state school, middle of your class. Nothing exceptional except one thing. You believed in the work. That part was real. You weren't recruited. You weren't planted. You were exactly what you appeared to be. A young man who wanted to be part of the system that held things together. You passed everything. Background, polygraph, every evaluation. Because at that point, you were exactly who they thought you were. The first decade was clean. You worked organized crime out of the Chicago field office. 6 years of surveillance, wiretaps. The slow cases that took patience more than brilliance. Hours in parked cars eating gas station food. Listening to conversations that almost never mattered until they did. And when they did, the work snapped into focus. Indictments, arrests, real consequences. You felt something then, not pride exactly, but something adjacent to it. A sense that the effort had weight, that it led somewhere, that it mattered. The transfer came in year 11. Counterintelligence. Washington field office, different work, slower, more technical. The subjects were careful, disciplined, patient in ways street-level criminals never are. Cases stretched across years, sometimes decades. Victories were quiet, classified, invisible. You were good at it. Your supervisors said so in the precise language of federal evaluations: strong analytical instincts, sound judgment. Not considered for advancement, you built a life alongside the work. A house in Falls Church, a mortgage that fit your salary but not comfortably, a daughter in middle school who played soccer and needed braces, the dental plan only partially covered, a car payment, a marriage that functioned but had lost warmth somewhere along the way. You watered a small garden on Sundays, bought groceries, remembered which brand of orange juice your daughter liked. From the outside, you were entirely ordinary, which is exactly the kind of person they look for. The contact came in year 14. Not obvious, not dramatic. It started as a professional relationship, a source, someone providing peripheral intelligence on Iranian procurement networks operating through front companies in the UAE. The information checked out. You processed it, reported it. That your supervisor approved continuing contact. This was your job, so you did it. The first year cost nothing visible. Everything was documented, professional, controlled, except for one thing. You didn't report everything. Not because you were hiding something, not yet. But because some conversations felt too speculative, too minor, not worth formal documentation. So you made a judgment call, then another. That's how it starts. Not with betrayal, but with omission. The asset wasn't who you thought he was. You understood he used a cover identity that was standard. You knew he moved between Dubai, Istanbul, Beirut. You reported all of that. What you didn't confront, what you allowed to remain just out of focus, was who he actually worked for. The MOIS Iranian intelligence. Not a source, a handler. You knew it, somewhere below the level you put into reports. But what you wrote shaped what you believed, and what you believed was adjusted, slowly, carefully, by someone who understood exactly how to move your boundaries without triggering alarm. He never rushed. He didn't ask for classified information early. He asked about you, your work, your career trajectory. He expressed admiration for the system you represented in a way that felt disarming. But it wasn't curiosity. It was mapping. He was learning where the pressure points were, what you valued, what you feared, and the distance between the two. Your training told you this was how it worked. You recognized the pattern. You just didn't apply it. The first request came in year 3 of the relationship. Small, deliberately small. A name. Had it come up in any investigations? Not details, just yes or no. You didn't answer that day. You went home, watered the garden, watched your daughter's soccer game, told yourself you weren't going to do it. 2 weeks later, you said yes. The name hadn't come up. You told yourself you had confirmed an absence, not provided information. You told yourself that for 4 days. Then you stopped telling yourself anything at all. That was the first compromise. And the thing about first compromises is this: they are invisible when they happen. You only recognize them later, when you're far enough down the path that turning back is no longer a simple act. By year 5, you had a system, not a formal one. Nothing written, nothing that could be recovered from a device or reconstructed from logs. A system built from timing, inference, and your understanding of how surveillance works, and how to exist just outside it. You met in places designed to disappear into routine. A suburban mall food court, a public library in Bethesda, conferences where your presence was legitimate and your movements unremarkable. You paid in cash, kept nothing, left nothing. You were meticulous, but meticulous isn't the same as invisible. The information you passed was calibrated. You didn't hand over raw intelligence files. You didn't expose sources. You told yourself you had lines, and for a while, they held. Not because you were principled, because staying below a certain threshold allowed you to continue believing you were still in control. What you gave was context, operational direction, whether certain individuals were under active investigation or merely flagged. The difference between those two categories is small on paper, but in practice, it's everything. It tells someone whether they need to disappear immediately or whether they still have time. People moved. You didn't ask where they went. Not asking became part of the system. This was never ideological. You weren't a believer. You didn't support the government you were feeding information to. You didn't justify it in those terms. This was about money, and then quickly it became about something worse, the impossibility of stopping. By year 5, you had received enough to matter, not enough to draw attention, no sudden lifestyle changes, no purchases that would trigger scrutiny, but enough to solve problems, enough to quietly change outcomes. The money moved through accounts not in your name. Intermediaries, layers, careful, controlled pathways that felt secure because you understood how investigations worked, which made you confident, which made you vulnerable. Your daughter got into a good university. You paid the first year without loans. You told yourself that was the goal, that it had always been the goal, that once it was done, you would end the relationship, that you could end it. But that wasn't a plan. That was permission. Year 5 was the point of no return. You didn't mark it. There was no moment that felt irreversible. Just a morning like any other. Coffee, a message, a reply. And then the day continued. That's what makes those moments dangerous. They don't feel like endings. They feel like routine. The investigation that caught you wasn't the one you were guarding against. For 7 years, you built your precautions around what you knew. The Bureau's methods, its surveillance patterns, its investigative logic. What caught you came from somewhere else. A financial investigation into an Iranian front company in Cyprus. No direct connection to your asset, no operational overlap. No reason it should have reached you, except for one thing, a name. A single name you had mentioned casually years earlier, not as intelligence, not as something significant. Just context, background. The kind of detail that feels like nothing when you say it. That name surfaced again in the Cyprus investigation. It was cross-referenced, and it landed on the desk of an analyst in the Washington field office, 29 years old, 3 years in the Bureau. No history with you, no reason to give you the benefit of doubt. She wrote a memo. The memo went to her supervisor. The supervisor read it carefully, the way people read things they hope are wrong, and then made a call. That call started a parallel investigation. 14 months. 14 months running alongside your life while you continued exactly as you always had. You went to meetings, reviewed cases, ate lunch in the cafeteria, had conversations that felt normal. Nothing felt different, because the people watching you were very good at their jobs. For 14 months, your life was already over. You just didn't know it yet. There is a particular quality to the morning of something you cannot stop. You wake at 5:47. Not because of an alarm. Your body has kept its own schedule for 20 years. You make coffee, the same brand your daughter used to drink before she left for university. You still buy it out of habit. You stand at the kitchen window and watch the street shift from dark to grey. A car passes, a porch light turns off. Somewhere down the block, a dog barks twice and stops. Your phone shows a message from your attorney. 6 words, "Come in this morning, bring nothing." You retained him 4 months ago. Quietly, you told your wife it was a professional precaution. She looked at you in a way that suggested she understood more than you said. Neither of you pushed further. Some conversations happen entirely in what isn't said. You shower, dress the way you would on any normal day. You bring nothing. The drive downtown is routine. Traffic compresses into the same slow movement it always does. You listen to the radio, a trade story, a weather report predicting rain. You note automatically that it will rain. Training doesn't turn off. You park 2 blocks from the Hoover building and walk. A woman ahead of you reads her phone while walking, holding a coffee, completely unguarded. Entirely ordinary. You watch her turn a corner and disappear. And for a moment longer than a moment, you understand something with total clarity. You are the only person in that space who knows your life is about to end. That is what isolation actually feels like. The plea agreement is 17 pages. Your attorney walks you through it again, not because you don't understand, but because repetition is a kind of mercy. 2 counts. Unauthorized disclosure of national defense information. Acting as an unregistered agent of a foreign government. The charges that would have destroyed you completely are not on the table. This is what cooperation, a clean record, and a very good attorney buy you. It isn't nothing, but it isn't enough. Your daughter doesn't know. That fact exists separately from everything else. Every other loss, career, money, reputation, has structure, cause and effect. You can trace it. This one you can't. She's 20, second year of university, calls every Sunday between 6 and 6:30. Has a roommate she likes, talks about classes, small things, ordinary things. She doesn't know, and the not knowing has a clock. And you cannot stop it. You would give back every dollar to stop it. You can't. You sign the 17th page. Same pen, same ink, same signature. Your last document in this building. The fluorescent lights hum overhead. The air is still too cold. Outside this room, everything continues. Phones ring, elevators move, coffee is poured. The system doesn't pause. The man from the DOJ collects the pages. He says nothing unnecessary. I'm professional courtesy, the kind reserved for someone who used to belong. You stand. Your hands are steady. Your legs are steady. They have always been steady. You walk out of the room, down the corridor, past the elevators, toward the exit. The building moves around you exactly as it always has, and none of it notices you leaving for the last time. Outside it's raining. The forecast was correct. You stand on the steps for a moment. No umbrella. You brought nothing. The rain is light, barely noticeable at first. You think about the garden, the coffee, the soccer games, the first compromise, the system, the 14 months, the 17 pages, all the ordinary mornings in between. And you understand something with absolute clarity. The life you were trying to protect was the thing you destroyed building it. You walk to the garage. I sit in the car. Don't start the engine. Your phone reads 6:47 p.m. Your daughter will call in 12 minutes. You haven't decided what you're going to say.